The former Marine charged for killing a homeless man who was acting erratically on a New York City subway car last year is now on trial. My question remains, how are you going to find 12 New York City subway riding jurors who are going to convict him? Daniel Penny, now 25, put 30-year-old Jordan Neely in what became a fatal chokehold after witnesses say Neely began being aggressive on the train, yelling threats at passengers last year, much of it captured on video. Penny has since described what he says happened.
I was scared for myself, but I looked around. I saw women and children. He was yelling in their faces, saying these threats. I couldn't just sit still.
And I'm sure that's exactly what he will tell the jurors as well. He'll testify. Prosecutors say Penny held Neely in that chokehold for around 6 minutes before police arrived. They say Neely stopped moving around 3 minutes into the hold. The criminal aspect comes in because Neely did not let go sooner. But to many, Penny's a hero, someone finally willing to step up and fight back. So the key is going to be who you get on that jury. After all, most New Yorkers have been on a subway car with someone acting erratically, even threateningly, wishing a Daniel Penny was on said subway car. So I'd say jury selection is the single most important part of this case. So how are you going to go about it? Let's ask Katie Cherkasky, former federal prosecutor, New York City-based criminal defense attorney, has been following the case closely and the jury selection process. Katie, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. All right, so first let me ask you, based on what's been happening in jury selection so far, how's each side sort of jockeying to find the kind of jurors they're looking for?
Well, like you said, I think that New Yorkers and anyone who takes the subway are well aware that it is a very potentially unsafe place and there is no help to be had. There is no law enforcement around. You are stuck there underground. And so when there is a risk of somebody becoming violent, it's a very serious risk and it's something that's very scary. And so certainly the defense is going to want to find people who can sympathize with that and understand from an objective perspective what might be necessary to quell that sort of risk of violence that Daniel Penny will likely testify or other evidence will be presented that he experienced and that led him to take the actions that ultimately, unfortunately, led to this death.
Now, look, the issue of race is one that is probably unspoken right in the courtroom. They won't be able to specifically talk about the fact that he was black and the defendant is white, but you've got to believe that that is going to play into, and they're not allowed to admit it in the jury selection process, but it's going to play into the jury selection process.
Well, absolutely. And obviously the optics are what they are. There is a black man who is dead and the defendant here is white. And so the prosecution is likely going to want to find people who are very sympathetic, maybe even hypersensitive to racial issues and think that they see racism, even inherent racism in any sort of interactions. So from the defense's perspective, it's going to be important to get people out of the jury that have that inherent bias against their client simply because he is white and the victim in this case is black. Because ultimately that does not have anything to do with the actions that Daniel Penny took. There's not going to be any evidence that the prosecution can present that he is a known racist. There's absolutely nothing along those lines. So as you said, it's more of the inherent suggestion that maybe this had something to do with race, but the evidence will not establish that it was a race-based offense by any means.
Let me play what Daniel Penny has actually said about that issue of race. Let's listen.
And then some people say that this was about race, which is absolutely ridiculous. I didn't see a black man threatening passengers. I saw a man threatening passengers. It's a lot of whom were people of color. The man who helped restrain Mr. Neely was a person of color.
Now, he probably won't be able to testify exactly that way on the stand, correct?
Well, I don't think that he will be able to testify in that way, and I don't know if he'll take the stand at all, and that will be highly dependent on whether the prosecution introduces some of his statements that he made pre-trial to explain his conduct. But ultimately, the overarching idea is that, yes, he is very white, and the victim is black, so the unspoken part about that has to kind of be explained to the jury, and perhaps the defense will make that point to say that this has nothing to do with the fact that they were of different races, but it just had to do with the specific situation at hand and the risk that Mr. Penny perceived and why he objectively believed what he was doing was necessary.
Yeah. We shall see. Katie, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact fact-driven, unbiased coverage.